Hey, it's Wendy, and I have a project called Underbelly Project where I have a podcast called Wild and Precious Conversations and a weekly newsletter called 10 Wild and Precious Things. And then recently, well, it was about a year ago now, a couple things happened. First, I was in a Facebook conversation, and I can't remember how it came up that I was being an explicit Christian. And I thought, that's actually a really good URL, so a domain name. So I Googled it, or I didn't Google it, but I did a little search. And there it was. Nobody had claimed it, which I immediately bought and spun up a little website and then thought, aha, explicit. I'm such a dork that the only meaning I got from explicit was, upfront and the opposite of implicit. So straightforward. I am guessing the reason that domain name had never been claimed is because what's the deal? So no, this isn't an X-rated Christian. This is my attempt to be an unapologetic Christian apologist. I'm 54 years old, and I've always been a little, ever since I stepped out of my little bubble of my hometown, where there were, I think we have at least 7 churches, and it's a tiny little community. And no, there's no diversity. There's no Jewish synagogue, and there's no mosque, and there's no Buddhist center. And you just have, I think, 7, possibly more churches to choose from. On a little side note and a little tangent, my dad grew up in this hometown, and he went to the church that you go to if you're not really that Christian. In fact, both of his parents were pretty atheist, and they went to that church because that was the church for those people. So that's the kind of hometown I grew up in. Once I stepped out into the wider world, and it became, obvious that now I'll change tones. I met my first Jewish friends. I then later met friends who were atheists, agnostic, Buddhists, etc. I became really shy about being Christian, mostly because I realized there was a lot of reasons that people had, I would even dare say, trauma from their Christian experience. I became much more aware. I mean, I'm 54 now. I was 17 when I left home. I started to become extremely aware of all the damage that had been done in the name of Christianity over the centuries. It's uncomfortable. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And I became very shy. I never dropped my faith, but I became really shy about, entering the room being, I'm Christian. I just would, not tell people. Once I married my husband and we had kids, he's what I term ethnically Catholic. So there was that back and forth. And anyway, I basically stopped outwardly showing any signs of Christianity. I still kept up a pretty Christian home, including writing Bible verses on my chalkboard wall and stuff like that. I don't think there's any doubt in my kids' mind that I'm the Jesus freak in the household. Let's just put it that way. But, and we homeschooled in a pretty progressive way, but we homeschooled. And one time I was having tea with 2 friends, and one of them, I believe completely not knowing that she was speaking to a Christian, said offhandedly, and I do understand what she was saying, offhandedly, that she unfriends anyone who's Christian on Facebook. And at that time I realized, whoa, this is serious. And I went even more deeply undercover at that point. If she finds out. But also it kind of tweaked something in me because I realized, man, where are the voices for the Christians who, I don't know, aren't assholes, for lack of a better word? I follow some really amazing people of different denominations. I have a huge amount of respect, too, for Jewish leaders, Islamic leaders, Buddhist leaders, for sure, et cetera, et cetera. And lots of atheists that I find fascinating and definitely learn from. But I realized that, yeah, I believe that we need more voices, loud voices. Well, I don't know, loud. We need more voices from people who are professed Christians to just keep saying, showing up, showing up. Hopefully, my idea is to counter the very loud voices of those who, in my humble opinion, really are part of the reason that people are not super excited about learning more about what Christianity is all about, and also possibly part of the reason that they may have been traumatized by their Christian encounters. I mean, and I realize the more I listen to people who have had these introductions to the Christian faith, these experiences, the more I want my voice out there, the more I want people to know that I actually really am Christian. I think it was in 2015, I decided I wanted to go back to church. It was hard for me. There were lots, I don't want to get into that now, but there were lots of reasons why that was kind of a challenge for me. Well, a lot of it had to do with the fact that I didn't want to go against what my husband, it doesn't matter. That's a personal thing. Bottom line, now I pretty much go regularly every Sunday. And the church I've chosen is a pretty conservative church. What I love about it is that there are a few things that we all agree on as members. Beyond that, disagreement is welcome. I have friends in that church who have wildly different political or social mores viewpoints from mine. I love it. We get into really deep conversations and we consider ourselves friends. And I really think that's important. My own views are I think they definitely skew to liberal or even left wing. A lot of my viewpoints are really skewing heavily anarchist in the moment. Anarcho-syndicalist, I think, is the appropriate term for what my political views are right now. I just decided to dive into the Bible Project Classroom's beta classroom, and I just finished my first course, little one, and I loved it. So I'm also going to be continuing on with their courses in order to kind of see if I really do want to do a Master's of Divinity. So that's another thing I'm going to be doing. I do plan to try to really add in just simply blog posts and videos weekly. We'll see. I'm going to keep it organic. But honestly, after what has happened in my life in the past year especially, I've realized that it's ridiculous. If I don't come right out and say that the only reason I'm able to do what I do in my life is based on the fulcrum, the anchor that I have in Jesus, actually, in my Christian faith, I'm lying. I'm just not being honest. And it's really important. And because of that, because of I don't know what you want to call it, the way Well, I do believe that the loudest voices in the Christian faith right now, the ones that get news coverage and the ones that people who aren't Christian especially seem to be most aware of, I really want to be a small drop of a small voice that's like, this is how, I don't know what they're doing. This is how I choose to do our one law. We have one law. The one law for all Christians is that we love God above all else, and we love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And everything else flows from there. I think tied up in that one, think about the flow of that system. We need to love God above all else. That's the fulcrum. But then we love our neighbors. That's everyone. So you think about a metta meditation, a loving kindness meditation, where you begin giving yourself loving kindness, and then the concentric circles going outward into sometimes people that you really have a problem with. I mean, that's it. That's what we believe, is that we love those people, those neighbors, as much as we love ourselves. If we don't love ourselves very much, well, becomes easy. So the thought, as far as I'm concerned, the entire thing is encapsulated in that one sentence. I mean, because we have our fulcrum at loving God, who is love above all else, and then we love our neighbors as much as we love ourselves. So we just keep going, loving ourselves more deeply in a really, really wholesome way, right? True love. And then we love our neighbors as much as we love ourselves. And then we love ourselves as much as we love our neighbors. And then we love ourselves. It goes back and forth and in a circle with, again, loving God as the fulcrum. That's it. Now, I deeply, deeply respect my Jewish friends, my Islamic friends, Buddhist friends. I really do. And I mean that sincerely. But you know what? I'm going to just unapologetically say, I am Christian. I really have actually, as far as Islam goes, I'm enamored with some of the with some of the parts of their religion. But I've stayed Christian. And Buddhist too. I'm enamored with some of the Buddhist philosophy. But I've stayed Christian. Unapologetically. And that's what this is going to be about. Welcome.